Howdy, everyone. It's Sam. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. This Friday night, preliminary final number 1, Cowboys versus Eels. To help me preview the contest, Mr. Entertain House and PaddyG. PaddyG, starting with you first, mate. How are you? Been a while since we've collaborated online as well. You might remember PaddyG from the 9-hour live stream that we did earlier this season. Good to have you on again, mate.
Thanks, mate. It's been a bloody long time. I think the last sort of Zoom thing I did was the season preview where I brought out a Cowboys wooden spoon, and here we are.
We certainly are, mate. And Entertain House, regular of the channel, bro. But look, we've been mates for a while, but that is put to the side this weekend, big time, isn't it, House?
Yeah, put to the side on Friday night. May the best team win, but really looking forward to breaking it down with you boys tonight.
Of course. And just going into the chat now, everybody that's coming in, thank you very much. We've got Mr. BKR Sport that's come in and said, g'day, thank you. Cody Games, we've got Regan, we've got Luke Melbourne Storm. Thank you all very much for tuning in. And if you have not subscribed to PaddyG and or Entertain House, please go along and do so. Links to their channels will be in the description box below at the conclusion of this stream. So just quickly, Entertain House, question on your Parramatta Eels. Is this within the realm that you thought that the Parramatta Eels would be at the very start of the season? How have you rated, I guess, the Parramatta Eels 2022 campaign, mate?
I mean, it's been a funny season. Obviously, we lost to a lot of those bottom sides and really turned up for the big side games, those kind of teams that we'd be playing in the finals. I had them finishing second. They finished in fourth. I guess I'll tell you what, the thing about this season, I know a lot of people had them right down the bottom of the 8 and outside the 8, but for this season, I've tipped against them when needed and feel like I've put that kind of bias away. So, yeah, it's been a really, really interesting season. I had them going out in the prelim, but that game was to Penrith. So obviously different conditions here. So, but overall, I think the season has been pretty solid. I think especially with a lot of departing players and the fact that you can brag about beating Melbourne Storm and Penrith and Roosters once, not twice, but the Roosters up there, they've been one of the dominant sides of the competition for years. And yeah, I think it's been a pretty good season. And if I was to rate it, I'd probably give us about a 7.5 to an 8, probably more 7.5, purely because of those couple strange old losses. But the inconsistency's been quite weird.
Mate, thank you. And PaddyG, man, how have you sort of seen the Parramatta Eels season so far, man?
I think we can all agree it's been inconsistent, but I think we all sort of were waiting until finals came. Like, for every time they beat a Panthers twice and they beat Storm twice, they would lose to a Bulldogs or a Tigers. So balances itself out. We're here now, and credit to Parramatta. I mean, the first week that was close. I think a lot of people are talking Penrith up as if they smashed them when it was a really close game until Para lost their best player in that game, who has been so vital for them. I mean, Mitchell Moses, there were questions around him at the start of the year, and he's put them to bed. He's been phenomenal this season. So we've been waiting for finals. They're here now, and at the moment, Parramatta have done their job. And I think if you would have said to them at the beginning of the year, you're going to play Cowboys in a prelim, then I think they're going to be very, very excited.
Absolutely. And PaddyG, man, also just and with all due respect, of course. So if you don't know, PaddyG is a Manly Sea Eagles supporter, and just as an outsider looking in, how have you gone about the final series this year, mate? How have you thought these finals have gone, mate?
I've been a bit of a Debbie Downer. So all season I've been sort of just talking Penrith up. I agree that it's been by far such a better top 8 than last year, which is something I didn't predict. I thought the top teams would still shine this year, and that was not the case at all. I mean, Brisbane 13 wins, still missed the 8. But it's been an incredible final series. I thought from 2 to 8, including the Rays, that any team could have played Penrith on grand final day. However, now that they're here and they're playing the Rabbitohs, I genuinely think that the grand final could be anything. I've got no idea who's going to win this weekend.
Dead set. You give South Sydney a chance, do you, mate?
Poetry. I mean, Penrith Storm, that was the GF rematch in the GF qualifier last year, and Storm knocked Penrith off when Penrith are paying $3.10, which is, I think, what Rabbitohs are paying now. So we all know how hard it is to go back to back. There's a reason the Roosters have only done it since then, and I give the Rabbitohs a red-hot chance, especially with Latrell Mitchell, who hasn't lost a finals game since week 3, 2017.
And do you have you chosen a team to barrack for in this final series, Paddy? Like, is there someone you're really hoping to win?
It was the Raiders coming from 8th and spending a bit of time down there this year. So they've been the team that I've been going for. But now that they're out, look, I know it's para. I'm not meant to be biased, but the 1986 thing, it's all I've got. So anyone but Parramatta.
Nice. And Houseman, do you think this final series has been better than the past couple of seasons, or what have you made of the final series, man?
Oh, it's obviously been good to attend games compared to last year. We still had some good games last year. But yeah, this final series has been interesting. Those teams that you kind of expected to really overperform or be there on the big, not the big dance, but probably at least the prelim. A lot of people had the Roosters and the Sharks as a prelim. And here they are, gone, eliminated from the competition. I think last week, even with Parramatta, a little bit disappointing that both games were kind of blowouts for footy fans. We just want to see that kind of low-scoring finals game that we just love to see, just like last year's either Panthers, Eels or Storm and Panthers. So hope we see one of those this week. But, like you, Paddy, I think Penrith win, but I give the Rabbitohs a chance. I like them at that line. They've set that bar too big of 8.5. Probably one of my bets for the week is the Rabbits to cover the line.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, well, look, we're not going to be talking about Rabbitohs and Panthers anymore. Let's get stuck into the preview. It is the Cowboys versus the Eels. Sportsbet have the Cowboys as $1.71 favorites to the Parramatta Eels, $2.15 outsiders. Kickoff is approximately 10 to 8 on Friday evening. And PaddyG, bro, can you please take us through the Cowboys team list, mate?
Of course I can. I think it's the same as week 1. They're very good with injuries and suspensions at the moment. Scotty Drinkwater at the back. You got Felt and Taulagi on the wings. In the centres, form centre combo of the comp, ? Holmes, the Iceman, and Peter Hickey, the halves. Tom Dearden and Chad Townsend, ? Over them, but like the centres, one of the form halves pairings of the competition. The forward pack, Jordan McLean, Reece Robson, the 9, and the workhorse, Ruben Cotter. The back row, Gilbert, Nana, who's probably Rookie of the Year, and Jason Tamalolo, who's come back in a big way. The bench, the hammer, Luciano Leilua, Cohen Hess, and Griffin Neem, who's been a find. And then the boys on the reserves, Tanoa Brown, Chester, Granville, Brendan Elliott, and Benny Hampton.
Thank you, PaddyG. And Entertain House, mate, can you please take us through your Parramatta Eels?
At fullback, Clint Gutherson. On the wings, Micah Sebo and Wonga Blake. In the centres, Will Penasini and Tom Opacek. Obviously, Opacek is in doubt for this game, but has been named. A halves combination of Dylan Brown and Mitchell Moses. In the front row, our forward pack, Regan Campbell-Gillard and Junior Paulo, or Paolo, if you want to pronounce it like that. Reid Marnie in the number 9. Sean Lane and Isaiah Papali'i in the back row. Ryan Madison at lock. On the bench, back for your Parramatta Eels, Bryce Cartwright. Number 15, Jacob Arthur. Number 16, Oregon Kafusi. Number 17, Murata Niokore. And your reserves, Makahesi Makatoa, Bailey Simonson, Nathan Brown, Ofahigi Ogden, and Kai Rodwell.
Thank you very much, Entertain House. And just in reference to the chat, we've got a couple of moderators just coming in now to look at it. So I can't see anything in the chat, unfortunately, but we've got a couple of moderators that are logging in now to take care of it. So hang in there, chat, and this guy will get catapulted over the friggin' over them all. PaddyG, man, what is a key matchup for you in this contest, mate?
I think it's the battle of the two young number 6s. I mean, Dylan Brown, he's been talked about as a legend. What was it? 310 running meters last week.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. I mean, people were bagging him a year ago when I said preseason that if Dylan Brown can become the X factor for the Eels, they're going to be one of the premiership contenders. And that's exactly what has happened. What an improved season from him. And the other number 6 who has improved just as much, if not more. Tommy Dearden starred for Queensland and had a great try against the Sharks. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, I think. I know the Cowboys put a number on the Eels last time they played, but I think defense is going to prove big in these big games, and I think that it's going to be maybe just something from one of these two that's special that decides the game.
Thank you, man. And House and Paddy, would you say that, actually, I'll start with you, Paddy. Would you say that Dylan Brown is the more silkier of the two between Dearden and himself? And would you say that Dearden was the more rough and tumble defensive player?
Yeah, I think Brown has got a bit more X factor about him. I think Dearden, while he has been terrific at 6, he still shows that he is probably going to be a halfback long term. But like in saying that, Tommy Dearden, he knows how to create. We saw it in Origin too. So he's proven he can do it on the big stage. So has Dylan Brown. So I would say Brown's more of the traditional 5'8", but Tommy Dearden, what a season he's had. Question marks over him. The Broncos let him go, and he's like top 5, number 6 in the comp at the moment now.
Yeah, and I've got to say, Dylan Brown and entertain us, man. On Dylan Brown, man, it's easily his best year in first grade. But I still find that maybe once every 4 games instead of once every second game, he sort of just goes missing like he did in that contest against Penrith. How have you seen Dylan Brown's season for 2022?
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's been his best season of footy. He's had some memorable moments throughout his short-lived career so far. So it's great to see that he could be this young prospect for years to come. But there are those moments where he goes missing. And I feel like in those moments, there are other players that stand up. You're Clint Gutherson, who is a co-captain with Junior Paulo. And you mentioned that key battle there. And I think the battle between Junior Paulo and Ruben Cotter is a huge battle as well this week, a big underrated one. You mentioned it on the big stage. Both of those players have also played on the big stage, both in New South Wales and Queensland jerseys. But as going back to that Dylan Brown situation, I think he's been in some much better form recently. He was pretty good against Canberra. He was great against the Melbourne Storm a few weeks ago. Look, he was quiet against Penrith. But I expect a big game from Dylan on Friday night.
Yeah, just on a couple of stats now. So the past 3 encounters between the Cowboys and Eels have all resulted in 13-plus victories for either the Cowboys or the Parramatta Eels. And the Parramatta Eels have actually had the wood over the Cowboys more so over recent seasons. But it was North Queensland that got the dub up in Darwin, 35 points to 4. And back then, Dylan Brown was playing in the centres. Players were sick, allegedly, up there in Darwin. Does PaddyG, does that give Cowboys more confidence knowing that they can do a job on them? Or is it just way too completely different in finals time to really think about that game back in Darwin, man?
I think I can only give you confidence. I mean, going into a game, once you've already belted a team, knowing that you've done it before, players, they've come in and out, but they still know that they demolished the Parramatta Eels at a time where Para, I think, were red hot. Maybe they weren't. It is Parramatta. I should have checked that beforehand. But I think it is a completely different game. It's at North Queensland. So I know there was a lot of talk around Darwin affecting Parramatta. That's going to be the same this weekend. I think the Eels, this might be a stat that gets brought up, so I'm sorry, but I think the Eels have only won 2 of 14 in Townsville. That could be completely wrong, but I back the good people of the Instagram. But so it can only help them when it comes to confidence, knowing you've smashed a team before, but it's going to be completely different. It won't be high scoring. And I know you just said that stat about 13 plus, and I did say the Sharks-Rabbitohs game was going to maybe come down to a field goal, but that's all that will separate this game. It's going to be tight as. It's finals footy. It's a grand final qualifier. Many of past players say that this is the hardest game of the calendar year, even more so than the GF. So it's going to come down to something special from a Moses, a Brown, a Dearden, or maybe even Valentine Holmes again.
So the last time that the Parramatta Eels won in Townsville was in 2017, and this is the first time ever that the Parramatta Eels will have played at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. It is the first ever finals game that Cowboys will host. Queensland Country Bank Stadium did host Roosters Titans and Panthers Rabbitohs a year or two ago. But this is the first fair dinkum Cowboys home final at the brand new stadium. So there's a lot of firsts in this contest, man. And I'm so jealous. But Entertain House, can you just confirm with me, if you don't mind, are you going to be there on Friday night, my bro?
Yeah, I'm going to be there. I've got my tickets. I believe I'm 4 rows from the front in the Parramatta Eels supporter bay. We've got approval for 2 seats for the drum as well. So one of the seats will have the big Parramatta drum with the crowd. So hopefully we can get a nice crowd behind the boys on Friday night.
Oh, man. Well, Entertain House. Now, I just want to touch on the forward pack battle. So, and you mentioned it just before. We're going to have Ruben Cotter in, Junior Paulo. We're going to have Regan Campbell-Gillard up against Jordan McLean. And in that front row, Reed Marnie versus Reece Robson. 2 of the absolute workhorses of both of these sides, man. Who are you leaning towards in this matchup?
I think with the matchup here, going off the overall season, I know Marnie's made a lot of tackles, but I'd have to go Reece Robson. I think Reece Robson's had a really underrated season. I believe he was on the extended bench, if I'm not mistaken, for the New South Wales squad as well. So that kind of shows that he's had that selection and he's kind of been in the back of, Freddie's mind and stuff. He's been absolutely phenomenal this season. But the thing about Reece is he can make a lot of tackles and make tackles in big moments. But when you go up against someone like Reed's making tackles against some huge players. He's tackling your Tarpany. He's tackling your Josh Papali'i. So I just don't know if he's going to be scared or not against players like Ruben Cotter and Jason Taumalolo. So, look, on form, I'd say Reece Robson. But in regards to the fear of the number 9 jersey, I think Reed goes in there and gets his hands dirty more often.
Yeah, true. And PaddyG, what just the 2 front row battles? So I've named off the players there. Who are you sort of leaning towards getting the victory in that contest?
I think if they're on, you got to go the Parramatta boys. I mean, they were both picked in Origin for a reason. But it depends if they show up or not. I mean, they did get fair. I don't know the stats, but it seemed in that Penrith game, especially in the back end, that they went missing, and they've gone missing a few times this year, even against the likes of the Tigers and the Bulldogs. And you cannot do that against this Cowboys pact, which I think McLean and Tamo do a lot of the heavy lifting, but Ruben Cotter, Reece Robson, they're not going to allow those big boys to go everywhere. I think that if they play like they did last week, their forwards, that power game for Parramatta, offloading to Reed Marnie, and they've got the strike out wide, I think you have to give the edge to the Eels, but we just don't know which Eels are going to turn up.
And can I ask, starting with you, PaddyG, now, the interchange bench for both sides. Again, we've got Jacob Arthur on the interchange bench, and I just don't know what the game plan is for the bloke. It's like he's a break glass in case of emergency, but I mean that's got to take a serious amount of luck and to get him involved, man. I don't know if he comes onto the field if Moses didn't get knocked out a couple of times over these past 2 contests. So, PaddyG, what's your opinion on Jacob Arthur's selection on the interchange bench, followed by you, Entertain House?
Yeah, it's hard to give it to Brad Arthur for this selection, considering Moses has gone down 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
But if that wasn't the case at all, like he can only play 7 or 6. Maybe they plan for Paulo and Regan Campbell-Gillard to play big minutes, but I'd have a Nathan Brown on there. I don't know what's happened to him. I don't know if his form was really poor before he went away or if he's just falling out of favor, but even just the start of this year, he was ripping teams apart. So I would have him over there personally. And if something does happen to like a Moses or a Brown, Bryce Cartwright can come in and fill in a job anyway. Maybe there could be something around Moses' head knocks, but outside of that, I would have a Nathan Brown over on the bench for sure.
Are you in agreement there, Entertain House?
I think last week, as Paddy said, it's hard to be critical of Brad because of that situation. I think last week with 24 hours to kick off, when Moses was officially cleared by an independent doctor, I expected Jake to come off the bench and Nathan Brown to come in there. But then again, Jake did provide that cover. Now that you've got Bryce Cartwright coming into that cover jersey, see, I think personally, I think Tom Opacek, I mentioned it, I think Tom Opacek won't play. He's been named. I don't think he'll play. What that would mean is I think Murata Niokore comes on to the centres. Obviously, Murata has started at lock with Madison to the bench, which I think we'll see once again. And what that means is that extra spot for the bench is up for grabs. And although you've got that cover of Bryce Cartwright, because you've got Jake there, you need to have another forward, especially if Murata's moved in. So I reckon Nathan Brown might play this game. I really do. I reckon Nathan Brown will be named late change on that bench. I think there'll be some changes on the bench. I haven't been saying the bench will change the last couple of weeks. In the back of my head, I've hoped it will. But I think this week when it matters, Brad will make some late changes. And I don't think Tom Opacek will play, boys. I really don't.
Wow. I see Bryce Cartwright in jersey number 14, and I don't know, man. Like when he comes onto the field, and if his passes stick, the flick passes that goes 30 meters out towards the back, scoring for a try, man. Bryce Cartwright could be the difference. Like it's a massive call, but Bryce Cartwright is just one of those unpredictable players that can do anything, man. And he has been not too bad when he has come on the field. And I agree, man. I'd be having Nathan Brown in there for sure if Tom Opacek doesn't play. Now, for the Cowboys bench, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow played 90 seconds against the Cronulla Sharks in that week 1 final. I all week was saying there's a game plan coming. It's going to be executed against the Sharks. We're going to see what this jersey number 14 on the Hammer's back is going to be all about. And with 90 seconds to go, he comes onto the field and had 1 hit up and 1 tackle, and that was it for him. And I'm left there scratching my head. What do you think the go is, PaddyG, with Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, man? Do you think that if it's still within the balance, does Hamiso just get a quick run on maybe for a Jordan McLean just to add in a quick little spark in the final 5 minutes? What do you do with Hammer when the game's in a balance, bro?
I think that just in this day with HIAs and stuff, I just think the Hammer's there purely for cover. I mean, like if there's an injury in the halves, they can just move Drinky in there. So he's good in that sense, the Hammer. I don't know if there's any game plan for him, though. I don't think... Has he played much in the forwards this year? Sorry to ask.
No, there was maybe a game or two where he did float around as an extra forward.
Well, you could do that. I mean, look... We're in extra time again, and there's some tired forwards around the ruck. He's going to be dangerous around there, but in saying that, you're going to lose a lot in defense. So I think he may just be there for cover. I mean, I'm not going to question Toddy Payton anymore. That man has come from the clouds this year and done something that I don't think any of us predicted. So I just, honestly, in my opinion, I think he's just there for cover. Like you said, 90 seconds in a 93-minute match. I mean, like, if you're only going to use him for 90 seconds there, what else is he going to do?
Well, you bring on Jermaine Tanoa-Brown. If you're only going to use him for 90 seconds, you put on a Jermaine Tanoa-Brown, or you put on a Jake Granville and you keep the Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter sort of hooker rotation going on there, because Jake Granville, still Cowboys legend in my opinion, premiership player. You put him on and you use him for 5-10 minutes instead of using a Hammer haphazardly for 90 seconds at a time. So, but again, I don't want to question Todd Payton. I don't know, man, what happened? Why was he only used for 90 seconds? Now, just moving into the backline battle now, I think that the Cowboys have the wood over the Eels in the backline, especially if Tom Opacek does not play. Murata Niokore has to come on in. Therefore, we're going to have Peta Hiku and Kyle Felt versus Murata Niokore and Marcus Sevo. That is a really cool battle that's going to take place. Felt versus Sevo. Who do you give the edge to there, House?
I think for finishing of tries, you'd have to give it to Felt. You've seen it before, even that grand final a few years ago, obviously. But when it comes to that kind of power game, I think Sevo. Sevo, for mine, has really been impressive this year. He spent this first half of the season out, but the big thing about me, he's not just scoring tries on the wing. He's scoring tries from half a length of the field. He's going back to that kind of 2019, 2020, or probably 2019 form where he can fend off players and make big meters, not just kind of catch a ball like your Alex Johnston kind of player. So for me, I would say Sevo has that edge over Felt, but in regards to scoring a double, at home, Kyle Felt would be hard to stop for 2, wouldn't he?
And I see if Tom Otterchek does play, I think PaddyG has got him covered. PaddyG has been so underrated. He has been brilliant this year. In that game against Cronulla a couple of weeks ago, hit the ball up for 28 times, ran over 300 odd meters, well over 300 meters, scored a try, and his tackle stuck as well, man. I think PaddyG has been sensational. And PaddyG, man, moving over to the other side of the paddock, you're going to have the old bull versus the new bull, Will Penasini versus Valentine Holmes, and then you've got Murray Taulagi versus more older bull, but Wanga Blake as well. Those 4 gentlemen, those 2 matchups, who do you give the edge to there, man?
I think you got to give the edge to the Cowboys. I mean, Taulagi and Holmes, they've been the form center wing combination all year. I mean, there's a reason both of them were in the Origin side. Valentine Holmes, he's probably on form, at least this year, the center of the season. And as well as that, he's first shot of Golden Point, nails it from 45 meters out. And he's proven that for the past couple of years now. So you've also got that. I think Blake really struggled against Nathan Cleary, and it's Nathan Cleary, so you can't blame him. I don't know why the Raiders never kicked to him. Even Gutherson looked shaky against the Raiders, but that was a big mishap. Will Penasini, he can do a job. He's actually been pretty good defensively the past couple of weeks, but Valentine Holmes, I've got to give the advantage to whatever side he's playing on.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like Will Penasini, I've got a massive rap on too. House, do you give Will Penasini a rap?
Yeah, I give Will Penasini a huge rap. I have to agree with you boys that Holmes probably has him covered there. I actually thought that Will was going to struggle against your kind of Matt Tomoko, who fended off your Munster, being really good, but he had him covered all night the other night, but a very different opponent. I think I was stupid and put Olaman Manu, which as my center of the year, but I should have definitely had Holmes and Manu. Huge mistake there. Holmes has been the form center of the year for sure.
Yo, and it's just one more discussion point, key matchup is the battle of the fullbacks. Scott Drinkwater versus Clint Gutherson. I guess Scott
Drinkwater didn't play when they played last time as well. Hammer was at fullback.
In Darwin, no, he did. Scott Drinkwater did play good, sir, and Hammer came on in the last 10 minutes and blitzed yous, thankfully. Right. Scott Drinkwater, I think, has got the creative edge. I think that Gutherson has the defensive edge. Would you agree with that, House?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I think, and both of those players are kind of involved in your try assist. They've been good in that. Or obviously Gutherson's kind of played every game this season, but Scott, kind of this late oncoming of the Cowboys. What was it, round probably 3 or 4? He came to the side, struggled to get into the side early on, but it's been one of the form fullbacks of the competition, and it's going to be a really interesting battle, that fullback one.
What do you reckon, PaddyG? Who do you give the edge to between Gutherson and Drinkwater?
They're almost they both are heavily involved in attack. I would agree that Gutherson's been the better defender, but he has struggled at points this season. Up against Penrith, like Gutho, it's his reliability, his involvement. He ran for 51 meters against Penrith, which was so surprising for Gutho. I've had a huge rap on Gutho. It's just he's a different fullback to what we've seen, but he does a job for Parramatta, especially when this season when Brown and Moses have been out. If I think Drinky gets the advantage in a game like this just for X factor alone.
Yep.
But in saying that, Gutherson's proven that he can come up with something special, and he like we talk about Latrell, Tommy, Tedesco, 3-on-2 on the edges. Gutherson's just as good as any of those boys.
I agree, Gutherson. I don't know, man. Like his numbers are probably better than what they were last year, but I think he had more impact last season. But I think any event, Gutherson is a really classy footballer, man. Like he's a level below the top tier, I think, or maybe he's just pushing into it, man. So I fear Gutherson probably the most in this game, man. Now, just one more matchup that I'd like to touch on as well. Chad Townsend versus Mitchell Moses. These two blokes are going to kick the stitching out of the goddamn ball on Friday night, and I would be supremely shocked if both of these players didn't kick it for 400 meters plus at the very least, man. Entertain House, Mitchell Moses or Chad Townsend? Who do you give the edge to in this one?
Look, they've both had phenomenal seasons. I didn't expect this type of season from Chad Townsend. We obviously had him on our NFL preview, had a little chat with Chad Townsend. So we got big raps for both these players. But I'd have to give it to Mitchell Moses. And the big fact is that, or not fact, but stat is that Mitchell Moses is leading the NRL in regards to try assists. And so many of those tries are coming off the boot. And I think even though he came back on the field due to injury after coming off last week, I think just the fact that he played last week in such a big game and got through that pressure, I think for Mitchell Moses, there's that kind of mental toughness in the back of his head. And knowing that he can kind of break that hoodoo of this kind of semi-final curse, coming into prelims, there's a lot of confidence on Mitchell Moses here. It's obviously the home fans are going to get behind Chatty. They're going to be louder for him, and his kicking game's going to be on because he's a fantastic player. But Mitch is going to have a huge game on Friday night, a huge game.
Yeah, definitely. PaddyG, man, Chad Townsend or Mitchell Moses?
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing a top 5 fullbacks this year, these two are definitely on that list. Townsend, the more traditional halfback, he's done wonders for that Cowboys side. I mean, if it wasn't for the 3-2-1 system, he'd probably be my player of the year, Chatty Townsend. What he's done is just incredible.
Wow.
Controlling. Mitchell Moses, he's the new school half. He controls the game along with Dylan Brown, but his acceleration, his speed, like House just said, leading the NRL in try assists, and he's been up there in try assists every season since Brad Arthur since he joined Parramatta. He's unreal. I'm going to give the edge to Townsend. It's going to be incredibly close just because Chad's won a premiership before. I know it was a while ago, but we have seen Moses go missing in big games. And I know it's hard because over the past few years, you'd say Moses is the better halfback, but I can't go past Chad Townsend. What he's done this year has been incredible. And I think he's as important to just the players around him as he is damaging to the opposition.
Yo. And just there's a question that just popped up here from National Sports Loaded. Thank you very much for tuning in, and everybody else that has been tuning in. And again, links to both PaddyG and Entertain House's channel will be in the description box at the conclusion of this stream. National Sports Loaded asked, do you see Tom Opacek scoring against his old club? That's if he plays. And if he does play, I don't think he's going to get around Petahiku personally. What do you reckon, man? Entertain House, do you think Opacek can get around Jeremiah Nanai and Petahiku to score a try if he does play?
No, I think it's going to be pretty tough for Tom. Obviously, I haven't got him playing anyway, but I think it's going to be tough for not only just the centers having him covered, the injury cloud. I think his confidence, if he does play, is going to be pretty questionable for Tom. So are we waiting to the end for try scorer picks?
No, we're going to get into that pretty much right now, guys. So just before we do, just another mention, Ryan Madison versus Jason Taumalolo. Oh my God, Taumalolo was so good against the Sharks. Unbelievable effort from him. So I'll go first. My tip, my anytime try scorer, and a scoreline as well. I'm going to go the Cowboys to win an absolute heart stopper, 16 points to 12. Both sides are going to score a couple of tries each. And I'm going to go Tom Dearden as the man of the match. I think he's going to lead the boys around beautifully. And when Chad Townsend needs to inject some Tom Dearden is going to make some great yards coming out of the danger zone as well. And anytime try scorer as well, I think Murray Taulagi is going to score a double against Will Penasini and Wanga Blake as well. And we'll save PaddyG to last. Entertain House, man. You're going to be there in the flesh on Friday night. I'm so bloody jealous. What's going to happen this Friday night, bro?
I'm so nervous, man. I'm so nervous. I had Parramatta losing in a prelim at the start of the year. We've gone into this final series with incredible form. I just hope we go in not thinking it's too easy, because when Parramatta go into these games thinking it's going to be too easy, but we love underdog status. Look, I think we can win this game. I'm going to tip Parramatta by 2. Very close score prediction to yours. I'm going to go 14 points to 12. And the big thing about this game as well is the goal kicking of Valentine Holmes and Mitchell Moses. It's been phenomenal all season. It's so funny that the 4 remaining teams in this competition are probably the 4 best goal kickers all season in the NRL as well, with Latrell Mitchell and Nathan Cleary. But look, I'm going to go Micah Sebo, first try scorer. He'll be probably one of the favourites there. I think if Sivo scores, we go on to win games. So Sivo to score a try at any time. Parramatta 14-12. I'm going to throw a bold prediction in here. And I'm going to say that Regan Campbell-Gillard's in for a big game. So I'm going to go Regan Campbell-Gillard as my man of the match. He's going to run for around, let's go 160 running meters for Regan Campbell-Gillard at Townsville.
Oh, man. And just before I get PaddyG's tip, also want to say the Cowboys, they have never lost a home final in their history. And this is the first time they've hosted a QCB Stadium final. So don't start losing now, boys. You're one win away from the grand final. PaddyG, man, you're the outlier here. You're the man in the middle. This might break. What's your tip, man? What's your tip?
I didn't have my tip until we started because I honestly had no idea. I've backed against them all year. So I'm going to take the North Queensland Cowboys to win 20-18 purely off the home ground advantage. I think that's the only way I can separate these two sides. Anytime try scorer, I'm going to go Nano, I think. I think they're going to target Mitchell Moses all night. And Sean Lane, he's been in terrific form as well, but so has Nano. Yeah. And whether it's a bomb or whether it's a just rampaging over Mitchell Moses, I think he crosses the line. 20-18, it's going to be Val. It's going to be a 2-point field goal or a penalty goal or something. I think it's going to be a few tries. There's going to be some cracking defense. The only way I could split these two sides is the home ground advantage because Parramatta, I think if both teams play their best, I think the Eels win. I just don't know which Parramatta is going to show up. And I think the Cowboys, just what they've done this year, it's destined for them. The comebacks, everything, a few things have gone their way. And I think that I've backed against them all year. It's time for me to face reality, and that is that Toddy Payne takes these Cowboys to the GF.
So all year you have not backed the Cowboys, but they've made a preliminary final, and now you're going to back them. That I don't know, man. That spells like a vice versa backflip omen there, PaddyG, man. Okay, all right. I'll take it though. I'll take it for sure. Everybody in the chat, like everybody in the chat, it's dead set 55-45%, or maybe even 50%. Man, it is straight down the middle. And just to verify, I've got Cowboys Panthers grand final. Entertain House, what's your grand final, bro?
I'm going to go with the Eels and the Panthers, or Panthers Eels, because Panthers will have that home ground advantage. I think.
True. Yeah, and PaddyG, what's your grand final?
I'm going Penrith and Cowboys. The only reason I'm tipping Penrith is because I've tipped them all year, and I can't back out now because I will look like the softest bloke on the planet.
Yeah. Yo. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Honestly, Entertain House, PaddyG, thank you very much for coming on and talking some smack with me, mate. It's always enjoyable. And PaddyG, is there anything coming up on your channel that you want to promote, or is there anything coming up in the world of PaddyG, bro?
Nah, nothing much, mate. Honestly, YouTube's taking a bit of a backside this year, just getting through the final year of uni. But that'll be done in time for the World Cup, so stay tuned. I'll be covering the World Cup. I think Samoa is going to make a really big push this year.
Oh, nice, man, nice. And Entertain House, man, is the World Cup got a feature on Entertain House channel, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. Some World Cup content will come out. The season reviews will come out, and obviously Friday, the huge vlog from Queensland Country Bank Stadium.
I cannot wait to see that vlog. And again, please go and subscribe to both of these gentlemen's channels. That is it. Thank you very much all for tuning in. And here's to a really good weekend without any referee controversies. Ashley Klein is the referee. No pressure this weekend, bro. Adios, everyone.